What's up, guys? So hopefully in this video you'll be learning how to stop procrastinating. I think it's a huge issue right now. Most people tend to procrastinate, whether that is trying to mow the lawn, write an article, go to the gym, walk, read a little bit more, whatever it may be, but it's a big disease right now, and hopefully in this video you'll learn how to overcome that. So how I'm going to be focusing on teaching you how to overcome procrastination is focusing on 3 simple steps. Step 1 is understanding what you're procrastinating over with and breaking that down. Step 2 is controlling your environment. So for example, the room that you work in or you read in. And step 3, certain tactics. So like apps that you use, chunking time, etc. So moving along, step 1. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be using blogging as an example. So most people procrastinate, or writing in general. Most people procrastinate over writing. So step 1 is understanding what you're procrastinating over. Most people, when they view a problem, they view the problem as a whole. For example, I need to write a 2,000 word essay, and then you're analyzing it, and then you get the symptom, paralysis by analysis. It's too much for you to digest that whole 2,000 word blog or essay at one shot. So what you need to do with any problem that you're procrastinating or solution that you're procrastinating over with is you need to break it apart. Gary Keller talks about it in his book, The One Thing. It's like, once you break apart a problem into its simplest form, that's when you can actually begin tackling the problem. So for example, in our case, we want to write a 2,000 word blog. And for most, it's too much. So what you need to do is, instead of viewing this as a 2,000 word blog, I think you need to view this as 3 separate pieces of a blog. So any given written article, there's what? There's an intro, right? There's the body. And then there's the conclusion, right? Or outro. So those are 3 significant separate pieces of a 2,000 word blog. So we can even break this down into further segments. So within the intro, let's break down what each paragraph, let's say for the sake of this video, there's 2 paragraphs or 2 to 3 paragraphs per section. Let's break down the intro into 2 to 3 paragraphs so we know what's going to be about. So if we go down over here, you guys can see that? Yeah. Intro. What's the intro going to be? Maybe the first paragraph is you're talking about the item. And the second paragraph is you're talking about more in details of the item. I'm not too sure, for the sake of the conversation, right? So now you've broken this down. And you want to go through every single section, breaking down what each paragraph is. So now what you have is you have 2 to 3 sections broken down into the category of your blog on every single section of your blog. So this will move on into part 2 or step 2, because now you've distilled the problem into actually actionable steps. Well, not steps yet, but now you can plug these things or plug these action steps into your plan. So step 2. So for step 2, we know we have our intro, and we know we have 2 to 3 sections of the intro planned out. We know we have that for the body, and we know we have that for the conclusion, right? Conclusion, all of them 2 to 3. Now in step 2, what's really important is your environment. You got to understand how your body is wired and how your body functions. Everybody's different. For example, with me, I like working in a quiet space. I don't like noise. I'll put earplugs on. I'll use certain tools of the trade, and I like to have maybe some ginger tea or turmeric tea, sometimes coffee. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. But I know my environment. Most people, they try to go against the grain or upstream, and it's impossible. Like if you have noisy coworkers around you, or if your family's bugging you, that's never going to fly. As Joseph Campbell talks about that in Following Your Bliss, is what is your quiet space? What is that space you can go to that no one bugs you for 2-3 hours? That's your sanctuary that you can get work done in there. So it's really important that you control your environment. Go to the coffee shop that you love. Build a room, build your man cave or woman cave inside your house. Maybe when you're working at a co-working space or you're working in your office, find an empty office or find something in that building that no one can bother you. It's of utmost importance that you control the environment that you're in with. There's certain cool studies too showing that scent Scent plays a role in paying attention and concentration. Also flowers and pictures. So play around with transforming your environment to become the trigger so you can concentrate better. So step 2 is that, okay? Step 3. Now we have the blog broken down into sections, and within those sections we have more action steps. Now you have a place that you can get your work done, your sanctuary, that room that no one can bug you in. Now step 3 is combining everything together into a well-formulated plan. Now these are a couple of things I want to talk about over here. I want to talk about chunking. I want to talk about distractions. I want to talk about don't break the chain. Don't break the chain, okay? So the first thing is chunking. Your brain doesn't like to deviate from task to task, meaning it doesn't like to go from email to calling somebody to writing a blog. It likes to stay on one task because you have something called, well, I call it ADD residual, meaning when you move from an item to item or task to task, there is a residual of that task into the next task. And science has proven it. It takes 20 minutes for an individual to get into a certain task. So imagine if you're breaking this up constantly, you actually never get into the flow, into the rhythm of things, okay? So it's really, really important that you chunk something. So what I mean by chunking, let's bring it back to the blog, is in your calendar or your time slot, you want to chunk, I usually chunk in 3-hour sections. So 3 hours, you block off what you want to do. Then within those 3 hours, the only thing that you're focusing on is that one thing. So for example, we had the intro with 2 to 3 paragraphs, and we had the details of what each paragraph is. Within the actual chunking, what I'm doing is this. I don't have any distraction. My phone is off. If you need to use a computer for writing, I recommend using certain apps such as Antisocial, also Rescue Time. So Rescue Time actually shows you how much time you're spending on social media like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all other different websites, and kind of gives you a general idea of like how much time you're actually wasting on a day-to-day basis. But pretty much what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not goofing off and going on doing something else. It's really imperative that you get into the flow. You have that safe, your sanctuary that no one can bug you in, and you get to work right there. So chunking is really important. I'm a big believer in a 3-hour chunk. So 3-hour chunk, and within the 3 hours, I take breaks every hour. I move around for a couple of minutes and I go back to work, okay? So let's recap this. And I didn't want to make this video long, kind of keep it under 15 minutes as much as possible. Number 1 is really understanding what you're dealing with, the problem, why you're procrastinating over with, and breaking it down as much as you can. Break it down into the most finite detail as possible, because that small first action step is very easy to do. And what Jerry Seinfeld talks about in Don't Break the Chain is you can literally do one small thing day after day in your chunking period to accomplish this. And how Jerry Seinfeld does it is, in Don't Break the Chain, is like, if he misses a day, the chain is broken, then you have to start all over again, okay? Stephen Pressfield, amazing author, he talks about procrastination becomes habits. If you keep on procrastinating over whatever you're procrastinating over with, it will become a very, very bad habit. And we know what habits are very hard to break. So if you have this habit of procrastinating over and over and over again, it's like you're digging yourself a grave, and it's going to be really, really hard to get out of the hole. So to recap everything one more time, step 1, break everything apart into very minute tasks to do on a day-to-day basis. Step 2 is controlling your environment, control the rooms that you're trying to get the work done in. And step 3 is use appropriate tactics such as chunking, make sure there's no distractions, use apps like Antisocial to block all your social media, put your phone off, and make sure no one's bothering you. So I'll leave you with some resources, 2 books I think you should read. Book 1 is The One Thing by Gary Keller, and book 2 is by David Allen, the infamous Get Stuff Done. Okay guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, the button somewhere here, and leave a comment below this video. I want to know what's your thoughts on procrastination, and also what other future videos would you like me to do? Peace.